Hello and welcome back to the Onlyfabs channel. Today's video has absolutely nothing to do with this ginormous bucket that I'm stood in, which is a 2 metre wide general purpose digging bucket for a 50-ton machine. But anyway, back to today's video. Today's video is going to be the repairing of an arm off a case 2350 tail swing that was in a recycling yard on a selector grab. Anyway, if you like what you see, give us a like and a subscribe. You never know, you might see us again. So as these photos show of the offending article, you can see on some of them where it's quite dark, where the arm's actually been cracked for some time, and it's just finally said enough's enough and let go. Anyway, we start by taking it apart. We took the selector grab off camera, and then we set the camera up as we stripped the machine down. Brian was me right hand man on this job. I'd have been lost without Brian, so he helped us strip it all down, and then helped me put it all back together again once it was repaired. So now we get the load all into position, take the pivot pin out, and that's a dipper arm free. So we've colour coded all the hydraulic pipes, and now we're taking them off the arm and blanking them all off so the machine can still be moved. And then once we've got it into position, we'll take all the steel pipes off the top of the arm so that the arm's completely bare, so that when we're moving it about for repair we can't damage anything that doesn't actually need to be left on. As you can see from this next picture, just how bent the arm is. Anyway, moving on. So now we're taking the main boom off. We start with the dipper ram, which is first to come off, and then onto the lift rams. So once we get the main lift rams off, we actually call it a night on day number 1, and then we roll into day number 2. So first job of day number 2 is to remove all the hard piping, as it'll just be in the way for the repair. Once all the hard piping's removed, we put a chain through where the main lift rams go to be able to lift the ram off and take the weight, and then it's on to removing the pivot pin. The pivot pin on these is very, very awkward to get at, with it being a 0 tail swing machine. Luckily this one's seen plenty of grease, and the pivot pin came out quite easily. In fact, it shocked us all, to be fair, at the time, but we were all definitely very pleased about this. So now the arm's off, we give it a coat looking at, and then we get it loaded up onto the wagon and round into the workshop for repair. So there's a picture of it here on the wagon, and then we're into the workshop. Obviously, a bit of burning went on, get a square cut out at the top and cleaned up to where it needs to be. And then basically what I've done is I've welded some bits on so that I can pull it back straight with a 20-ton jack. But not only have I used the one to pull it straight on the side, I've actually got a notch in and another 20-ton jack underneath, so that I can take the bit of twist out of it as well. It was a little bit hairy, this one, but you can only work with what you've got, and without having loads of fancy presses and things. Essentially a bit of a bush fix, as it would be, but it gets the job done, so that's good enough for me. Then we prep it all up, cut some cardboard templates because we're going to put some fish plates over the outside, which you'll see as the video progresses. Then this is us cutting some plates to go internal with a quickie. As you can see, starting to put the first one in, just a little bit of extra internal strength. They're cut tapered so they fit the inside of the arm perfectly. And then that's another job done, just to give it that little bit of extra strength inside. Anybody that knows a case machine will know that they are quite common to crack on the main boom. Sometimes once you've welded them up, all you do is move the stress point so that it just cracks a little bit further up. Hence why we're going to put some large fish plates on to hopefully take that stress out over a greater span, and hopefully it shouldn't do it again. So we're in with the load all now and turn it over. So we're going to start by welding up completely the side where the crack originally seemed to have started from, because this was the darkest area in the crack, as if it had been cracked the longest. Normally if something's been fresh, it's quite shiny, but in this case it was very, very dull at this point, so we're assuming that this is where the crack has started. But anyway, we get that all welded up and flatted back off, ready, so that when we put the overplate on, it's all ready to go on. Then in the background here, you can see Stevie bringing the plates in that we've had cut to go over the top. So I had these plasma cut out just to try and make the job look as nice as possible. And we back in with the load all and turn it over again, so the arm's in the upside down position. It was actually torn right through the bottom of here as well, barring about 3 inch at one side, so it needs quite a bit of grinding out before it's welded back up, obviously to make it as strong as we possibly can. as you can see here, Brian takes over from me cleaning the paint off as there's a little emergency job coming that pulled me away from it. So to keep the job pushing on, Brian did a bit of the cleaning up for me. Then what we're going to do is, while it's upside down, we're going to put this overplate on now to save it having to be back in this position again. So now we've got all the paint off, we'll have a bit of plate cut to go on top of the arm where we cut the piece out. It's actually tapered from the bottom of the arm up towards the curve of the arm for all it's square the other way on. So we make sure that fits, get it cleaned up, and then we'll have that welded in. So once we've got the top welded in and a couple of bits on the side, becomes apparent that the bottom half and the plate aren't quite in line. So we weld this pry notch on and put the jack in to jack the two perfectly level again. A lot of people use a dog and a wedge for this sort of thing, but I find personally that I like my little hockey stick and my jack. Just gives me a little bit more control, and I find it's easier. Personal preference obviously, but just the way I like to do it, and quite an easy and simple way as well. So again, we've got the overplate on the top, and we're just getting the gas out to warm the little rounds up on the bottom so we can bend them round and just make the job complete. Once again, we're back in with the load haul for another turn. We're onto the opposite side to before now, just welding that top plate, and then the overplate on, pry notch back in again, and we'll get that all welded in and buttoned up. So we're on to the final side now, weld under the plate, overplate on, pry notching to make sure it's touching, and this side buttoned up, and then we're ready for some paint. So that's it now, pig it up. We've masked the stickers off so we don't get no overspray on them. I just have a couple of little bits that needed to go back on. As you can see, we have a little tab quite close to the pin, which is to hold a couple of brackets, and then further up we have the bit that the grease pipes go to. As you can see, we've given a bit of primer, and now we're on making it case orange again. So the idea is so that we can hardly tell we've been. Obviously, anybody that knows a lot about machines will know straight away, but to the Joe public or the naked eye, you probably won't be able to tell once we've finished. And then we let this dry overnight, then it'll be back on the wagon and back on the digger. So the following morning, we're just loading it back into the Ro-Ro skip, ready to transport it back round. And now we're on to rebuild time. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to do the process that we took it apart in complete reverse. So we'll start by putting the arm in and the main pivot pin. Then once we've got that done, then we'll be onto the lift rams, all the piping work on. Then we'll have it up and the dipper arm on, and then we'll have it all piped back together. Then it'll be ready for the selector grab and back to work. So if you haven't already, give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.